All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual who is set to compete on September the 8th on the preliminary portion of EFC Worldwide 97. We have Pietie Coxen and Tom Theocharis getting out there and showcasing their skills, and happy to be talking to Tom after what sounds like a fairly exhausting day. That's quite the travel schedule to get to where you're at, it sounds like, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dylan. And basically to go over what we just went over. Got to the airport 4 hours before because that Toronto Pearson airport has been a nightmare from what I've heard and seen on Instagram and social media and that sort of stuff. And so we got there 4 hours before, settled into the airport. It wasn't bad at all, actually. And then it was about a 13-hour plane ride to Ethiopia. And then from there, we had an hour and a half layover, and then another 5.5-hour flight to Johannesburg. And here we are now. Hordecki and I actually just checked into the hotel. It's beautiful here. We've got a nice little living room. Each have a bedroom to ourselves, and got in a nice little workout and feel great now. So, yeah.
Yeah, and is that your first time out there in Johannesburg? Is this first on the passport there?
This is the first on the passport. I've never been to Africa, been to Asia, been to Europe, been to South America, been all over, North America, obviously, and happy to check this one off the bucket list. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you'd be excited too, just with the fact that this bout was able to stay together, because I saw it was initially targeted for August 11th, but moved over to a bit later. Like, what kind of motivated that, move around there? Because I think it was initially supposed to coincide with like a previous timeline that admittedly was pretty emotional for you from what I was seeing from different posts. Like, what changed with all of that, with it being adjusted to like earlier September?
What happened was I actually got staph infection. And so I got it, I think it was like the end of June or something like that. And basically just, they have cards every month. So instead of just scrapping the whole card, I just basically said, hey, I got staph infection. There's nothing I could do about it. You guys have a card September 8th, 4 weeks later. Let's do it then. And they said, yeah, that's cool. And it's crazy right now because this fight was supposed to happen 1 year ago, actually September 11th, 2021. But obviously with the passing of my girlfriend, I had to pull out. It's like the exact same fight, obviously the exact same promotion. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So.
Yeah, and it seems like this is an important one for you. Like, I was seeing a post about how you were going to be, dedicating this one to your girlfriend there, and it seems like there's been like a big rise in the MMA community of support and people resonating with your story through different platforms. Like, I mean, Drake Riggs did a good job of documenting your story in different outlets like that. Are you kind of feeling that collective support there? Because I mean, it's a pretty impressive story, man. It's a lot to overcome and come to terms with, and you're still obviously ongoing several different emotions from what I would imagine there. So like, I guess what's your response to like how everyone's kind of like been there for you in a certain sense? Like, it feels like people really have your back in a certain regard.
Yeah, it's definitely like it gives me a really warm feeling, and it gives me extra motivation. It's incredible to get the support that I have from the MMA community. And I think a large part of that is just because of my mindset as well. Basically, like when it happened, I just, obviously was very upset and shocked. Still am. Every single day, it's like kind of wake up, still can't comprehend it type of thing. And it's always in the back of my mind. But I've used MMA as an outlet, and it's significantly helped me. And, coming on the plane ride here, like you just kind of, you have a lot of time to think. And like, MMA is obviously, you're putting a lot on the line. It's no different than, let's just say, for example, someone who is working a job, but they have an important, presentation to kind of present to some people that are like high up in their company, and they've been preparing for it for weeks and months at a time. I mean, they get the same sort of feelings as that pressure and that sort of stuff. But obviously, with mixed martial arts, it's a little bit amplified just because you're going in there and fighting someone. But on the way here, I was just having anxiety, and it's a long way to go, man. Like we flew 20 hours to get here, and then that whole time you're just kind of alone in your thoughts on the airplane, and I'm just saying, do it for Sam, like keep doing it for Sam. This one's for Sam. It's it's a mission. She would want me to do this. She would want me to complete this mission. And so that's just what I kept telling myself when I just was spiraling down it with anxiety and, having those thoughts. So that kind of helped me.
Yeah, it's good that there's some catharsis that you can try to at least meet in some of these situations. But it seems like a localized kind of journey was there with the promotion as well. Like, from what I understand, I was reading a previous article where you'd reached out to them like earlier on in your career, and then they were kind of like, well, we're not really too sure right now, but maybe down the line kind of see what happens. So is that kind of the gist of the situation? Like, you reached out initially when you were like 0-1, like earlier in the career, and now it's kind of turned into this opportunity here?
I think that might have something to do with it. Yeah, like I reached out to them in 2017. They're a fantastic promotion. So far, they've treated us really well. And, like, they're even going to the extent of, like, doing open media workouts and, like, doing, like, a press conference or treating it like it's, like, a UFC fight, which it's kind of cool. Because growing up watching UFC, like, I would always watch, like, the press conferences and, like, the open workouts. And now that I'm, like, kind of being a part of it, I'm just, trying to enjoy it type of thing. But obviously, like, there's a lot of pressure that I put on myself to win. So I, just kind of staying focused on that task at hand. And going back to what you said about the promotion kind of sticking by me. Last year when Sam passed away, the promoter was like one of the first guys I called. It's just like, hey, like my girlfriend died. There's no chance I could, fight on the card. He was very understandable. And so, I kind of messaged him, I think it would have been in like May, like just after my last fight. And, I was just kind of like looking to see what was out there. And I just said, hey, why don't we do this fight? Like, I want to do it for my girlfriend. Why don't we do the same fight? And then it was originally supposed to be for July. I haven't signed a contract for July. And then they said, no, let's do it in August, because I guess that card was full. And then I obviously got staph infection. And now here we are. It's September 2nd. The promotion stuck by me, and I'm thankful for them. So,
yeah, and it seems like you're looking to, ideally put together like a few fights this year. I mean, obviously you got to see how this fight plays out, and you're not overlooking what that means, but it seems like you'd at least like to maybe even get in like one more after this, from what I understand.
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm here and I've got this task ahead of me, there's no looking past September 8th. There's no, like, life isn't even, there's no tomorrow, basically, is the way I like to put it. Just that's all that matters is that date and time to kill, basically. So.
Yeah, and I feel like you've always been comfortable being like the away player in a certain sense. Like, not that you would necessarily be uncomfortable fighting at home, but it feels like more often than not you've been kind of the road warrior there and everything like that. Like, even in your last fight going to Alaska, and your first fight you crossed the border to get in your like very first MMA fight there. So do you find that to kind of be the case? Like, you sort of enjoy going over and getting into someone's space and competing on their quote-unquote territory, because it seems like your opponent here is like mostly fought for EFC in his pro career.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, I'm used to it now. I love the travel aspect. Like, when I first began competing and fighting, I just kind of told myself, wow, wouldn't that be so cool to like travel to different places and fight? And that's kind of basically what I've been doing. I think that's a part of the journey, and what, I get to take away from this is, when my career's all said and done, I could look back and go, hey, wow, I went to some pretty cool places, fought in some pretty crazy places, and have those memories. So, I mean, it's pretty fucking badass to fly all the way to Johannesburg to fight a dude. I mean, it's a pretty cool story. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
And had you checked out any previous fights of Pietie Coxen before getting out there and getting this fight going here? I mean, 20 fights in their career, like I said, mostly on the EFC circuit there. Like, you've always struck me as a guy that kind of like focuses on your own refinement, and you just like ready to fight whoever more so. But have you been checking out previous tape on Pietie Coxen before this one?
Yeah, I definitely have. But for this training camp, like, you just kind of put it spot on. Just kind of focus on myself. There's a fight in particular in the past. It was against a guy named Colt Menzik, and I was just like kind of obsessed with watching tape of his. And when we both came out, I hit him with the push kick that I saw was open, the whole time I was watching video of him. And then, like, I flattened him. He fell and got back up, and then I just kept trying to do it over and over again because, like, that's all I had been really working on. And what happened was, like, I fucked up in that fight, and he didn't come out the way I thought he was going to come out. And so, since that fight, I just try not to like go too hard and diving into watching my opponent's fight, because you never know, like, what they could do, right? Just because they didn't throw it in a fight doesn't mean they're not capable of it. But yeah, for this fight, definitely a lot more energy was put into myself, my weight's super low right now. I wanted to get in the best shape possible because the elevation here is super high, and we all know what happened to a lot of the guys at the UFC Salt Lake City, like Luke Rockhold. He gassed out within like 2 minutes, and that guy trained for that fight for 5 months. Like, I followed that guy on Instagram. He trained hard. He was running, he ran all the time and that sort of stuff. But like, when you get to that elevation, I don't know if there's a particular way to train for it. I just didn't want my body to like go through a drastic weight cut essentially, and then kind of like screw myself over for the fight. So I just try to get my weight as low as possible, focus on what I do offensively and defensively, and go from there.
Yeah, and touching on just the last fight there, because I think that would be a hugely cathartic sort of moment, just with like obviously all the stuff we've touched on that was going on, and just getting a finish where you garner the ACE championship there and you get a finish in 90 seconds there. Like, how cathartic was that? Was there a certain level of, I mean, I would think a lot of excitement, but was it more of like a relief kind of sensation almost? Like, how did that feel?
It was a massive relief. Like, you hit it spot on there. I hadn't competed in over a year in that point, and like, I just gone through so much stuff in my life. Leading up to that point, I had, obviously with my girlfriend, and then I had a shit ton of fights fall through, and like, I was just trying to like, just trying to mentally get through it all. And then I got to that fight, and that week, when we got to Alaska, I was just super nervous. Had a lot of anxiety leading up to it, but finishing him so quickly, it definitely gave me a lot of confidence. Like, he was only 2-1, I believe, at the time, but like, the guy was like a jiu-jitsu brown belt. Like, no one was wanting to fight him in Alaska, and that's why they kind of brought me in. He's like an ex-Marine, like, super tough guy. I guess he had like a bunch of boxing fights too. He won Golden Gloves or something. I don't know. But he was tough, and then I just finished him so quickly. And what I was impressed at myself was how calm I was. He came at me really quickly and put me up against the fence. I turned him around. I didn't go for anything super quickly. I didn't force anything. And then we kind of just broke off, and I don't even know, I just threw my right hand and left hook. And then as soon as that right hand landed, I just knew he was done. So I just pounced on him real quick. So that was definitely a confidence booster.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great moments so far. I mean, yet another first round finish. I feel like that's a very popular kind of thing in your career. Just it seems like you utilize whatever pressure exists in the moment to manifest these, big outcomes and stuff like that. Do you kind of feel like that's the case? Does the pressure kind of galvanize you in a certain way and kind of generate these big moments? Because it seems like you get it done in the first round fairly frequently.
Yeah, if I didn't feel this pressure on myself and it's kind of here for fun and that sort of stuff, I definitely wouldn't be taking it as seriously, and I wouldn't be as focused, and I wouldn't be training as hard. And I think that pressure obviously creates the better performances for myself. For that last fight, I didn't necessarily go looking for that first round knockout. It just sort of happened. And even with my previous fights, I'm always prepared to go 3 rounds. I train super hard to go 3 rounds, and I mentally prepare for 3 rounds. And if it ends quicker than that, then that makes me happy. So.
Yeah, and it seems like you got to train. I mean, you've always gotten to train with great people from previous times we were talking, but it seems like the Lion Fight's cruiserweight champion and Aaron Jeffrey, who's now obviously a fairly highly ranked Bellator middleweight now, it seems like those are some of the bigger guys you've kind of gotten in work with ahead of this one. Would you say that's the case, getting in work with some guys like that, and if not, maybe some other people that have really sharpened the skills in this camp?
Yeah, I didn't train, so with that Lion Fights guy, I was training with him in May and June a lot.
Oh, okay.
So he was really good. He's a heavyweight guy. He's super powerful, got really good Dutch kickboxing. And then Aaron Jeffrey, obviously, I've been training with that guy for 10 years. Didn't really train with him that frequently for this training camp, but we were able to get together probably at least once a week. And congrats to him on that fantastic performance that he just displayed against Austin Vanderford. But then, I worked with my main training partner was this guy named Tyler Green. He's we're at BTC one day because for sparring, we usually just go to BTC on Saturdays, and he was there, and he gave me a really tough round, and he's this 6'3", 190-pound guy, and I guess he won a WACO or what's it, WAKO kickboxing belt.
Yeah.
But really tough, and so I just go, hey, where are you from? We should train more. And he just said Toronto, and which is nice because that's where I live. And he was a huge part of this training camp. I worked a lot with 10th Planet as well. At Topical Martial Arts with Ram. Shout out to Ram. He's a fantastic pad holder as well as strength conditioning coach. Went down to Adrenaline Training Center every 2 weeks maybe. Train with the usual suspects there, and I just try to get as much training in as possible and with the best guys around. So.
Yeah, and even on a mentorship kind of level, I think it's cool that you've got Chris Hordesky down there with you. I was, even when we were talking before, seeing the pad work kind of video of you guys getting a little bit of training work there. I would think that insights from a guy like that would be invaluable ahead of a big fight.
Oh, it's the best. I started training with Hordesky back in 2010, and I was just a huge fan of him from his WEC days, and then I started training with him, and then trained with him up until full time up until 2019 because he moved to Sarnia, and then because basically he moved to Sarnia, that's a huge reason why I moved to Toronto. It's because I didn't really have him anymore, and then obviously still talk very consistent amount, and I trust him significantly with fighting. And like even he came down and we were doing pads before we left, and did a workout session. It's like, fuck, it's nice to have that guy back. It's nice to have him back. And then we're just trained again today, like back here, and just fuck, like the knowledge he has is like incredible. Like I just so thankful to have him, and I just wish I had him more. So he was a huge part of my I guess maturing as a fighter. So
yeah, I mean, such a legend in the sport for sure. Just really waved the flag for like London, Ontario, and by proxy Canadian MMA for sure. But one of the last things I wanted to kind of bring up, I've never really noticed this before until just kind of doing a cursory Instagram glance a day or two ago. I noticed Justin Bieber follows you on Instagram. Is there like a Stratford, Ontario connection there?
Yeah, so we actually grew up together. We played hockey growing up. He's a year younger than me, and he would get called up to my hockey team. And we take the like going to hockey games. We'd all like bus together, and spent a lot of time with him on the bus. And I kind of grew up with him. He just kind of always around. He randomly followed me. Like I hadn't talked to him for years, and he randomly followed me after our hometown did an article on me around Christmas time. And he's a really big supporter of anyone from Stratford, and so it kind of made sense. And we grew up together, and so that was definitely a very how do I describe it? It was a very cool moment. Yeah, so.
Well, it's a kind of fun connection there and everything like that. Just very interesting to see where people's lives take them and stuff like that. Like you're on a cool path too and everything like that. So yeah, that's fun. Just something I kind of noticed. I didn't know like what the backstory would be, but that's fun.
yeah. Just two kids from Stratford, Ontario. That's about it.
Yeah, it's always fun getting to talk to you ahead of these fights, though, man. I do want to be mindful of your time and schedule heading into this. I, again, though, appreciate you finding some time into the schedule, just with it being like a few days away and everything, though. But, like, is there anything maybe you might want to add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up? Like, maybe something that didn't get mentioned or anything of the sort?
No, I appreciate you reaching out. I always love talking to you before my fights. It definitely fires me up. But, just thank all my friends and family and all my sponsors, and Chris Wardesky, Adrenaline Training Center, Coach Ram, Tyler Green, those guys. So
yeah, some great shout outs, and this is going to be a great fight. I'm excited to check this out on September 8th, and EFC Worldwide 97 going to be featuring Pietie Coxen and Tom Theocharis, and yeah, the preliminary portion should be good. You can check that out on the website, from what I understand, efcworldwide.com. So yeah, I appreciate you making this work yet again, man. Super cool, and just looking forward to checking out the fight. You have a good rest of your day too there, Tom.
I appreciate it, brother, and you have a good one. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.